You send your child to school to learn, but what if I told you that for hours every week, they're not learning at all? They're just waiting for the lesson to settle down and waiting for the teacher to deal with another disruption. And they're waiting for the chaos to calm so that they can finally start the lesson. And this isn't a problem in so-called bad schools anymore. This is happening everywhere. In fact, a 2024 survey found that 62% of teachers, and that's most of teachers, say disruption now happens frequently. And I'm hearing the same story over and over again from tutors, from parents, and from students themselves, that classrooms are out of control. Everyone inside the system knows it's broken, but nobody wants to talk about it. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 big reasons why this is happening, what it actually means for your child's learning, and most importantly, what you can do about it. For those who are new to the channel, hey, I'm Varjod. I'm the founder of Mobile Tutors, where we help thousands of students every year improve their GCSE and A-level grades. And welcome to our new series, The Problem in UK Schools, where we're uncovering the real issues impacting your child's education, from underfunded classrooms and teacher burnout, to broken discipline, lost communication, and widening inequality. Every week I speak to parents, students, and teachers across the country, and the same thing keeps coming up: classrooms that feel more chaotic than ever. So in this episode, we're going to look at why behaviour in schools has collapsed, what's really driving it, and more importantly, what parents can actually do to protect their children while the system struggles to fix itself. Over the last decade, per pupil funding in England has fallen by about 9% in real terms, according to the IFS. But what does this actually mean? Well, it means schools have had to cut support staff. Now, those teaching assistants, the people who used to be in the classroom with the teacher, helping to de-escalate the problems or support struggling students, well, now they're gone. Now the teacher is doing everything. They're the teacher, the behaviour manager, the support worker, and the admin all at once for 30 children. So when one children acts up, the entire lesson stops. The teacher has to deal with it, and your child, the one sitting there ready to learn, just lost 10, 15, and sometimes even 20 minutes of their valuable learning time. Imagine this: the teacher has to step out to handle a disruptive student. The rest of the class just waits, and that's exactly why so many students are behind. Work that should take one lesson now drags into 2 or 3 lessons, simply because teachers spend more time managing behaviour than actually teaching. And when the class finally settles again, it takes time to rebuild concentration and get everyone back into learning mode. And I see it all the time with the students we teach: bright, capable students with huge gaps in their knowledge. Why? Well, because their teacher can't physically get to them. Your child could have their hand up with a genuine question while their teachers are at the back trying to calm 3 disruptive students, and their questions never get answered. Now here's where it gets complicated. Schools are under huge pressure to keep the exclusion and suspension numbers low because those figures are tracked, published, and even reviewed by Ofsted during school inspections. High exclusion rates can raise red flags in inspection reports, suggesting that a school's leadership or behaviour policies aren't working effectively. So on paper, a school with fewer suspensions looks like it's improving behaviour. But in reality, the data pressure often means that teachers are discouraged from removing disruptive students, even when they need to. A 2024 report by the Centre of Social Justice found that many head teachers felt pressured not to record suspensions because how it might affect the school's reputation and inspection outcomes. And that's where the real damage begins. The teachers become powerless, and the standard for acceptable behaviour drops for everyone. Your child is the one who pays the price, trying to focus in an environment where low-level disrespect and chaos have become normal. And that teacher, well, they go home completely drained, not from teaching, but from battling. That leaves them with less energy, less patience, and less passion for the next day's lessons with your child. And to add to that, I've personally spoken to many parents over the last few years whose children have experienced severe bullying to the point where they've had no choice but to remove them from school altogether. And in so many cases, schools fail to take meaningful action. Poor discipline policies mean that disruptive or bullying students are simply kept in rather than dealt with properly. We all know the pandemic created massive learning gaps, but it wasn't just academic. Now, for almost 2 years, children learnt from their bedrooms, and in that time, they lost what I call the basic school skill. I'm talking about simple stuff, like how to sit for 50 minutes, how to take turns in speaking, how to put your hand up, and how to show respect for an adult's authority in a room. Teachers are telling me that younger year groups, especially those who miss the key transition from primary to secondary school, are the hardest to manage. The real impact on your child is that the teacher is now forced to spend a huge chunk of their lesson time teaching basic classroom behaviour instead of the actual subject. The entire pace of the lesson slows down to the level of the least focused student. This is the one I see every single day: shortened attention span. Now, social media and constant phone use have rewired how students think, focus, and learn. They're used to a constant stream of quick 15-second high dopamine bursts of content. Then they walk into a classroom and they're told to sit down for an hour and focus deeply on one problem, and it feels painful to them. Every week I speak to parents who tell me that their child has attention problems. They're worried that their child can't concentrate even though they've never been diagnosed with anything. But I always ask them one question: does your child have trouble focusing when they're playing games? And the answer is always no. It's not that they can't sit there and focus, it's that they just don't want to. Because if it mattered enough, it would capture their attention the same way gaming or social media does. They would focus for hours without even looking at the clock. So the problem isn't attention, it's interest. True deep learning, the kind needed for GCSEs and A-levels, requires sustained, unbroken focus. And that's becoming almost impossible to achieve in a modern classroom. So who really suffers? When you add these four things together, no support staff, no consequences, lost social skills, and shrinking attention spans, you get chaos. And it's your child who suffers, the one who does their homework, the one who packs their bag, and the one who actually wants to learn. They're the silent majority who lose hundreds of hours of teaching time every year. Their questions go unanswered, their effort goes unnoticed, and eventually their motivation just fades. They start to think, why should I even bother? But it's not just the students who suffer, the teachers do too. Recent surveys show that over 80% of teachers say poor behavior directly affects their well-being, and nearly half of them have considered leaving their profession entirely because of it. Teacher turnover is now at its highest rate on record. In some secondary schools, turnover rates nearly hit 20% per year, which is exactly why your child is seeing more and more cover teachers. That constant churn of adults, that lack of a consistent person at the front of their classroom creates even more instability, making it almost impossible for schools to build any kind of structure or rhythm. And that's another massive problem, one we'll have to dig into properly in a future video. Look, you and I can't fix school funding or change national policy, but you can control the environment your child learns in outside of school. If the problem in classrooms is chaos and distraction, then the solution then is to find a way to reintroduce the complete opposite: calm, structured, and focused support. At home, this means creating clear routines. It means a dedicated, distraction-free workplace where phones are not allowed. It means sitting with them and showing them how to build a revision plan that follows a clear step-by-step structure so they feel a sense of progress. Most of all, it means finding some place where they can get their own questions answered and feel seen. Once they get that focused attention, their confidence and their grades almost always follow. So if your child is struggling, remember, it's probably not their fault. They're just a good kid stuck in a broken system. Your job isn't to fix that system, it's to build a better one for them outside of it. I'm Varjod. I'll see you in the next one.